Welcome back to another deep dive.
Oh.
Today, we're going to explore the story of Freddie Mercury and the formation of Queen.
Okay.
We're trying to trace his journey from art school student to global icon.
Sounds fun.
I've got Wikipedia articles, biography excerpts, even some YouTube clips.
Right.
So we can really kind of paint a full picture.
Awesome.
You ready for some surprising details?
Always.
Okay. Get this. Freddie was actually in a few bands before Queen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with names like Wreckage and Ibex.
Those names definitely capture that rock and roll spirit.
They do, don't they?
Yeah.
What I find really fascinating is how Freddie's early life, especially his time at boarding school and art school, really seemed to shape him as an artist.
Yeah, totally.
So should we start at the beginning?
Sure, let's do it.
Freddie, wasn't your typical Londoner.
Right.
He was born Farrokh Bulsara in Zanzibar
Wow.
to Parsi parents.
Yeah.
Not exactly the typical birthplace of a rock star.
It's a pretty intriguing start, though, isn't it? And it kind of speaks to all those global influences that ended up in Queen's music.
For sure.
Just imagine, being uprooted from Zanzibar during a revolution, ending up in London, and then being sent off to boarding school in India at such a young age.
That's a lot of change for anyone, let alone a young kid.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder how those experiences kind of shaped his outlook on life, his ambition.
I think boarding school especially can really cultivate this sense of independence and resilience. You're kind of forced to adapt, find your own way,
Right.
and you see those qualities in Freddie throughout his career.
Yeah, definitely. He never shied away from taking risks, challenging conventions. He really forged his own path.
Absolutely.
So we've got this young Freddie, shaped by this really unique upbringing.
Right.
And then he ends up in London, enrolling at Ealing Art College to study graphic design. It's not just about getting a degree, though, is it?
Yeah.
It feels like this is where the seeds of his artistic vision are planted.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Art school back then wasn't just about learning technical skills.
Right.
It was about exploring ideas, experimenting with aesthetics, developing a visual language, you know?
I get that.
This is where I think that flamboyant stage presence starts to come out.
Interesting.
His love of theatricality. We even have stories of him, singing in the art studios.
Wow.
Almost like he's subconsciously preparing for what's to come.
Yeah, like those hallways were his first stage.
Exactly.
And speaking of stages, this is where he meets Brian May and Roger Taylor.
Right.
They were playing in a band called Smile at the time. It's almost like fate, right?
Oh, it's a pivotal moment for sure.
Yeah.
Freddie was just completely captivated by their music.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Some sources even describe it as like almost an obsession.
Wow.
He saw something special in their sound, something he knew he could be part of.
So it wasn't just luck that brought them together.
No.
There was this real sense of Freddie recognizing something.
Yeah,
Musicians who shared his passion,
absolutely.
his ambition.
Totally.
And then, of course, Smile's lead singer leaves,
Right.
and Freddie seizes the moment. I can only imagine what that first rehearsal with Freddie as the frontman must have been like. Electrifying.
I bet. just picture it.
Yeah.
Mixing Smile's original stuff with covers like Jailhouse Rock,
Wow.
blending influences, experimenting.
Yeah.
Freddie wasn't just a vocalist, he was a collaborator,
Yeah.
pushing them in new directions.
Right. And this is when we get the legendary name change to Queen. A bold move.
It was.
Pretty controversial at the time.
Very.
But ultimately so fitting.
Definitely. It reflects a transformation for both the band and for Freddie.
Yeah.
He's shedding the skin of Farrokh Bulsara, the art student,
Right.
embracing this new persona. Freddie himself said that the name Queen was very regal, obviously, and it sounded splendid.
Wow.
He really understood the power of image,
Yeah.
the importance of that visual identity to match their music.
Definitely. He had a knack for the dramatic, that's for sure.
Mm.
But it wasn't just about the visuals. Freddie's voice was something else. He had this incredible operatic range. Most rock vocalists could only dream of that.
It was unique, a powerful instrument.
Totally.
And the way he blended all those different influences.
Like what?
You hear the operatic quality, obviously, but also hints of vaudeville.
Okay.
Aretha Franklin.
Really?
Yeah. Even shades of Memphis soul in there.
Wait, Memphis Soul, that's unexpected for a rock band.
Exactly. But that's what gave them that signature sound.
Wow.
They took that raw energy of rock and infused it with this richness, a depth that set them apart.
It's true. So we have the band, we have the sound, we have the look. Now it's time for the world to meet Queen.
Yeah.
Their debut album, simply titled Queen, hits the shelves. Were they an instant success?
Not quite. Music industry rarely offers overnight fame.
True.
That first single, Keep Yourself Alive, it didn't really make much of a splash. Album sales were slow. There's a story about Freddie worrying about ending up back in an art studio if the band failed.
Really?
Even someone who would become Freddie Mercury had doubts.
Wow.
Anxieties.
It's a good reminder that even legends face moments of uncertainty.
Yeah.
But they kept working, toured relentlessly.
They did.
Building a loyal fan base, one gig at a time.
Exactly.
You know, there's even a story about their first Australian tour plagued with problems.
Oh, yeah.
Illness, tension with the crew, equipment malfunctions.
Wow.
But they persevered.
They did.
Showed real dedication to their craft. It would become a hallmark of their career.
Yeah.
And amidst all of this, Freddie's stage presence just keeps evolving. He's becoming increasingly flamboyant, captivating audiences
For sure.
with his movements and costumes.
We're talking platform shoes, skin-tight jumpsuits, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely. Pushing boundaries visually, musically. Freddie was creating this androgynous theatrical persona.
Definitely.
Challenging norms, embodying the spirit of glam rock.
Glam rock. Now, there's a term that deserves some unpacking.
Okay, go for it.
It was more than just music. It was a whole cultural phenomenon.
Right.
Glitter, platform shoes, androgynous fashion, a totally theatrical approach to performing.
Yeah.
It was about embracing excess,
Okay.
challenging gender stereotypes, creating a spectacle.
Makes sense.
And Freddie, with his personality and that flair, he was a natural.
So it's fascinating how it all starts to come together.
It is.
The music, the visuals, the persona, but this is just the beginning, right?
Right, we're just scratching the surface. The journey from that debut album to global superstardom is full of creative risks, critical acclaim, and those iconic anthems that would come to define a generation.
Well, let's take a quick break, and we'll dive into the next chapter of Queen's rise to fame when we get back. All right, so we've established Queen's debut album wasn't an instant smash.
Right.
But you can really sense this ambition there.
Yeah.
This drive to push boundaries.
Oh, definitely. It's like they're building up to something.
Yeah, honing their craft, you know. Their second album, Queen II, kind of had a mixed reception, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Some critics found it a little too experimental for their tastes.
Right.
But even in that experimentation, you hear them developing their sound.
Yeah.
Take Seven Seas of Rye, their first top 10 hit.
Oh, wow.
It showcases that theatrical flair, those complex arrangements they were known for.
Yeah, it's a classic Queen track.
Yeah.
And then came Sheer Heart Attack, the album that really cemented them, I think, as a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. This is where we get Killer Queen.
Exactly. Sheer Heart Attack was a game changer.
Total game changer.
So much raw energy.
Yeah.
Confidence.
A whole other level.
It's amazing to think that Freddie wrote Killer Queen in one night.
Apparently just poured out of him. Speaks to that innate musicality he had.
That's incredible.
Turning inspiration into something original. And Sheer Heart Attack really launched their popularity.
It did, didn't it?
Especially in Japan. I mean, Beatlemania-level fanaticism.
Wow. It's interesting how different cultures connect with music, isn't it?
It is. I think it's a testament to their ability to transcend those boundaries, speak to something universal.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the album that catapulted them to superstardom, A Night at the Opera.
The one with the 6-minute epic, Bohemian Rhapsody.
That's the one. The one that record execs thought was too long, too strange,
Yeah.
would never be a hit.
But Freddie had a vision.
He did. And he fought for it. He knew it was something groundbreaking.
Yeah.
It's not just the length, it's the structure, the operatic element.
It's unlike anything I've ever heard.
Exactly. And that music video, those special effects,
Of foreheads.
iconic. It solidified its place in pop culture history.
It did. It wasn't just a song. It was a phenomenon.
It really captured people's imagination.
Still does. Decades later, it's timeless.
It is. A Night at the Opera was a turning point for them.
Okay.
It gave them the creative freedom, the resources to realize their vision.
They weren't beholden to anyone anymore.
Exactly. They could create on their own terms. But fame comes with its own pressures.
It does, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Creative tensions within the band.
Oh, yeah.
Conflicts over direction.
For sure. And of course, the ever-present demands of fame.
Especially for Freddie, right?
Yeah, I think the spotlight really intensified some of his struggles.
With his identity, his personal life.
Absolutely. It was like living a double life.
Freddie Mercury, the rock star.
Right.
And Farrokh Bulsara, the private individual.
Hard to imagine that toll.
It is. Especially back then, when being openly gay was still so taboo.
It must have been incredibly isolating.
Yeah, battling that while trying to maintain this public persona.
But his creativity never wavered.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Even while his health was declining, he was recording vocals for innuendo, determined to create until the very end.
It's a testament to his strength, his dedication.
Absolutely.
It's just incredible how, even while dealing with all that, Freddie and the band just kept going, hit after hit.
It's true. Their music became the soundtrack to the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah. Think News of the World.
Right.
We are the champions. We will rock you.
Those songs are more than just rock anthems.
They really are. You hear them everywhere.
Sporting events, graduations.
I've even heard them at political rallies.
Yeah.
They've taken on a life of their own.
They have. It shows how powerful their music was.
Yeah. It connects with people on such a deep level.
Absolutely. Speaks to something universal, you know.
But their music wasn't always universally loved.
No, that's true.
Some critics found it, I don't know, too theatrical, too over the top.
Well, that's part of what made them so interesting.
Right.
They never wanted to be put in a box.
Yeah.
They embraced it all, the grandeur, the theatricality.
Even when it wasn't popular.
Even then, sometimes it alienated people, especially as musical tastes changed in the 80s.
Yeah, their 1982 album Hot Space is a good example.
It is. Funk, disco influences. A real departure for them.
It was a risky move.
Very risky. Divided the fans, the critics.
Some saw it as a betrayal.
Yeah. Others thought it was brilliant, you know.
Yeah.
Applauded their willingness to experiment.
Right, but even with all the controversy, Freddie kept evolving.
He did. Becoming even more flamboyant, theatrical.
He was a master of reinvention. Always pushing boundaries.
Always. There's stories of him looking like someone straight out of the Village People during that time.
Wow.
Fearless.
Totally. But as they entered the mid-'80s, things took a turn.
Yeah. Freddie's health?
Declining. And the AIDS epidemic was looming over everything.
It's a really sad chapter in their story. Reflects the times, you know, all the fear and misinformation surrounding AIDS.
It does. And Freddie was a private person. Kept his diagnosis secret for years.
It must have been so isolating.
It must have been. To deal with that and try to maintain his public image.
The ultimate showman?
It's hard to imagine. But even then, his creativity never stopped. I read he was recording vocals for innuendo while visibly weak.
Real.
Determined to keep creating right to the end. Incredible.
Yeah.
It shows his dedication to his art. And then, just days before his death, the announcement came. Shocked the world.
It did. Freddie Mercury, gone.
But his legacy,
His music.
his impact,
Enduring.
it really is. So, after this deep dive into Freddie's life, what have we learned?
I think it's a story of incredible talent, huge ambition, and what it means to be a unique individual in the public eye. Freddie Mercury challenged everything, defied expectations, inspired millions.
He did. His story shows us that even with challenges, setbacks, we can create amazing things. His passion, his creativity, his love for music, it's still with us today.
It is.
So next time you hear a Queen song, remember the journey, the struggle, the man who dared to break free and become a legend.
Let his voice move you, inspire you, embrace your own inner rock star.
Beautifully said. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the birth of Queen. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the music playing.
Whisper.